This is the long one. I'm Rob Bear, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher and Waxer. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yo, what's up?
Kenny, I recently heard you referred to as the Gandalf of the Gulf. Do you care to comment on that?
You referred to me as that.
No, I did not. That was not me.
What did you say?
I don't think I said anything.
Somebody called me Dildo Baggins, which I approve of.
Yeah, I mean, like, you get some
I
real
was thinking that.
trailer park Hobbit energy.
Definitely some TPH.
I went out to a vape store and saw that they had a Gandalf pipe.
Is it a real pipe or is it a vape that looks like a pipe?
No, it's a pipe.
It's a pipe.
Oh, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
both of those options, cool.
Yeah, they had a
curious.
fucking full on Gandalf pipe. And I was like, give me that pipe, give me some tobacco, I'm gonna go smoke this.
It's a fun hobby. I used to have one.
Me too. I carved one at a beer shop once.
Nice.
Damn, that's hardcore.
Yeah, pipe smoke is like a hobby. That's why it's fun. Then I got out of it. Now dip my toes back in the Dildo Baggins water. Yeah, so tonight,
Gross.
so we had an extended episode of After Hours content over on the Patreon page. You can watch that if you're listening to this on your drive to work. Tonight we're going to talk about the Amazon Henry Cavill Space Marine 2
Boondoggle?
kind of development.
You're like
Talk
making
about
shit up.
the tithes a little bit too, because there's a lot of examples in that we could reference.
Yeah. We got even more muscle mommies than ever before.
Yeah.
Please don't make that the title again.
Did I make that the
I
title?
I can't deal with cleaning up those messes on
You
my
always
social
change when I
medias.
write, so I just kind of write whatever at this point.
Yeah, but I can't change your thumbnail or your featured image.
Ooh,
I mean, I
Kenny,
can. I
Kenny,
can
you
just
know the cheat
replace it.
code. Yeah.
I did not know that. I didn't even think of
What?
that. Sorry, Rob. I didn't mean to make you.
I already went through that.
You can't have
Well, I
muscle
mean-
mommy be in the title. I mean, in the thumbnail.
No, I mean the problem. I mean, you can. The problem is that everybody wants to run their mouth about it, and it's just
That's
like
the world, Rob.
at some point, it's just like, bro, I'm just turning the comments off. Like,
Okay, I see. I see. I won't do that again.
I mean, it's fine. Like once or twice, you know, like if it's relevant, but it's
Once
not
or
relevant this week.
once or twice, and I've already hit my twice. Got it.
You've hit your twice for till something else happens.
2025, I can do it again.
Maybe. Well, we should have news in December, hopefully, when they put out their mid-year report. They should be like, we're doing this thing with Amazon, or we GW'd it up, or
Yeah.
not. We'll see.
Kara Quinn's like, Rob Lee's into it. What the fuck? Hypocrisy at its finest. Like 25 posts about muscle mommies and spikements. That's all automated because I fucked it up at the core. Kara Quinn. That's what he's scolding me about. Because I'm the core of that RS chip when I write something like that.
Nah, dude.
Well,
It's just a renegade AI that's really the buff chicks.
That's who's behind all the comments. When we edit post, it will send out a notification again after we edit the post. Like it just does that.
So he had
I
to
don't
edit
have
it
control.
25 times to fix it.
No.
Kara Quinn. All right, let's do a Would You Rather with Wyatt. Let's kick it on over to news after that. What you got?
Would you rather lose your 2 front teeth, or would you rather lose all of the hair on the top of your head? You cannot replace them. You lose them forever.
Wait, like
Prior Todd bald spot?
Yeah.
That one.
I see.
That one probably.
That's pretty normal. Most people have that, I feel like.
I mean, there's entire industries of making it to where people that happens to don't have to deal with that, right? There's hair pieces, hair plugs, all sorts
Now,
of stuff.
does picking one or the other grant me immunity from the other?
Only we'll say yes, but only in like the only exceptions being like the most crazy. Like you can't like bite down on a steel pipe, right, and expect your teeth not to break, right? But yeah.
So I'm not my two front teeth are gonna rot out of my face.
They're just gone. Like you don't
No,
have to
if
deal with
I
any pain or suffering.
but if I pick fuck my teeth, I'm not going bald,
Sure.
right? So I know for sure I can keep my hair. Fuck, that's a hard choice. Can you see my front two teeth when I talk right now normally?
Sometimes.
Not
As I'm-
particularly
As I'm
but-
speaking? Would it be a problem? Like just my normal
For you, I don't think it would be a problem, Kenny.
no. That I can't like wear prosthetics, like I just gotta rock the fucking gap.
Yeah.
Man, those things always break anyways. You don't want that.
Keep
I mean, it's a hard choice, right? It depends on like the shape of your face, like how you are accustomed to speaking and forming words.
Do I have to rock the fucking fried taco? Can I shave my head?
I feel like shaving it is
It's
kind
gaming
of
it.
in the realm of gaming it.
It's
so
gaming
no.
it, okay, because I can't put prosthetics on. Like so,
Yeah.
so
No toupees, no hair plugs.
am I allowed to
like,
wear a hat to hide my bald spot, or only to shield my eyes from the sun?
only to avoid sunburn and to shield your eyes?
Hmm.
Fuck.
Intent is very important when it comes to would you rather's. The genie is very good at sussing out whether or not you're trying to game it.
Sussing out.
Well, I
Yeah,
live in
fuck you.
Florida, so no teeth kind of is the standard around here. So
I mean, I feel like it's on brand for you, bro.
yeah, I feel like I can go with the no teeth.
No
Fuck
front.
it.
I mean, it's not that bad. It's just two front teeth.
Yeah, fuck it. Fuck it. And now I don't go bald. Does any of my hair loss at this moment revert, or it just is stopped?
It's just stopped.
This is a good time to stop it. It's getting
And I
bad.
mean, like, let's say that if you're listening at home and you're like, well, I already got like the Tony Soprano going on. Like in this hypothetical, you would have a full head of hair.
So if you already were friar tucking it, you're
Yeah.
reverted.
Yeah.
Because it's not fair otherwise.
Or you just have to put yourself in a headspace where like you still have a full head of hair. So it is like a hard choice.
No, like, yeah, they can have hair again.
Mhm.
But they have to sacrifice their teeth.
Yes.
I think those dudes are really will tell you what the reality is. I bet you a bunch of those guys just say, I'm keeping my teeth.
It depends on how much you care, right? I mean, like, if everybody who was balding or went bald, like, didn't give a shit, or it wasn't like a societal thing for like a man being more respected if he has a full head of hair,
Yeah.
being more like attractive,
Yeah,
there
all-
wouldn't be toupees and there wouldn't be hair plugs. And,
all
like,
you
hair plug
dudes,
for men.
all you balding ass dudes are a bunch of bitch asses. That's society. Like, and I look down on all you. I can't be one of you. I'm taking the meth teeth.
Meth teeth.
This would be like super fucking. I'd be like, thank God, Jeannie. I've been obsessing over losing my hair for years. Yeah, smoking a pipe becomes super easy. That's right,
Yeah,
Kara Quinn.
dude. You can like whistle real good.
Mm-hmm. No. Real talk though is like, for years I did obsess over like my hair thinning, and then one day I saw this guy walk like just at the grocery store who's like got a bald spot, and like I was like, hey, he just looks like a regular guy. Like he's. Why do I think me with a bald spot is a pussy, but like that guy's fine? Bruce Willis is fine. Jason Statham is fine. Me, not fine.
All those
John
guys are
Cena,
action movie
even.
stars.
John Cena even.
John Cena. I'm an action star in my own mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, Meticulous Gas said started balding at 19. Basic training. Learn to get over it real quick. See, I imagine people who actually are living bald, like right now, they're like, whatever. Yeah, fuck it though. I'm not gonna be Meticulous Cast. You get to be bald. I get to have hair. And if the very reasonable price of looking like a fucking swamp person in like the Louisiana Bayou, Rob, you?
I think I
Rob-
just have a bald spot
Rob,
because
I don't know, Rob. I'm looking at you bald, picturing it. Total bitch.
it's not back here. Nah.
Oh,
Full
So
fry, full fryer tuck.
Yeah. Who cares? So I actually smashed out my two front teeth when I was younger. Cause
Baby teeth.
yeah, these are real. But so I mean eventually they came back, but
Yeah,
like
as normal.
right, but so like they pushed back up against the roof of my mouth.
So you'd actually be
Uh,
like, get rid of these. They're frustrating me.
Yeah, no, they pulled them out. They're like, oh, these gotta go. I
So
cost
you-
my parents so much money.
Wait, do you have
when I was
veneers
younger.
or do you have veneers or real teeth?
No, these are real teeth. They grew, I got my real teeth,
Those are
but when I was-
obnoxious, bro. They sound fucking frustrating. Get rid of them. Just fucking keep your head of hair.
Nah, who cares? I look fine. If I lose a little hair back here, who cares?
It's not a
I'm
little
already
hair.
Kind of go
I mean,
thin
and
back
that's-
there.
It's
That's
fryer
fine,
tuck.
Rob.
It's full
But,
fryer
like-
tuck, dude. It's not a little hair. You have a chrome dome
like
and-
Patrick Stewart, dog.
and the
Like,
sides. Yeah, Captain Picard, dude.
Oh, I see now. That's fine.
all your scalp hair gone.
You have a gleaming, glistening head.
Chrome dome.
You know what? I don't have a round head, so I probably wouldn't look good.
Yeah, more people coincidentally, Kara Quinn, definitely judge on your teeth more than your hair.
Yeah,
But I mean, like
But-
that's what makes it such a hard choice, dude. Just because like every person has like a different value on certain things.
see, I wouldn't care as much about the no hair, but I have a stupid shaped head.
Right. Whereas like some people are like, I want my hair to be fucking balling out of control all the time. I don't want to be a baldy. And they can hide not having your two front teeth.
Patrick
Yeah, I mean, you
Stewart auditioned for Captain Picard with a toupee,
With the,
and they said no.
you look good.
I said fuck no. My man slaps ball.
He didn't think he was gonna make it.
Kara Quinn, he's like, eating is a value. Can you? How much do you guys use your front teeth when you eat? I guess you do.
To bite into
yeah,
stuff.
kind of. I mean, those are your like cutting teeth, right? Because we're omnivores. So
These
we've
are my-
got
These are my
cutting
grabbers.
teeth in the front, chewing teeth in the back.
Fuck.
True.
Fuck it. Going with the meth face. Rob going with the fryer tuck.
No, I don't think I would.
You're
I
gonna
think I'd
lose
go
your
with the teeth.
You're going with now that you've thought about Patrick Stewart and you.
No, it's because my head is not shaped. It's not round. I cut my hair off when I was like much younger, and I was like, "Ooh, I do not look good," and not because I don't have any hair.
We need to do an old
Because,
dude,
WWF haircut
I'm the same
challenge.
way, dude. When my hair is like shaved all the way down, like when I was in basic and stuff, I did not like it.
Yeah, it's my head is, people that are bald and rock that shit, they look good because they have round heads. If you do not have a round head, if you have like Cro-Magnon man head with like shapes and mashed
Okay.
potatoes and
I
shit.
think I still have my cat card. Oh yeah, I do.
The
Yeah,
back
dude.
the back of my head looks like a 12-pack of hot dogs.
There you
Oh
go.
no, you can see this.
You look very intense in that
This
picture.
is my cat card from basic training.
So you're from front on, it looks round, but like I don't know about the side.
Yeah.
Well, you
I
look
got
good like that.
I got the weird not weirds per se, but like I got the lumpy head on the back.
But you look
Yeah,
like you have
see.
hair. That's the thing. That's different.
Mashed
Yeah,
it was-
potatoes.
Make
Well,
that
I had-
make that,
that was like-
shiny and dome.
That was hair 5 o'clock shadow. That's
Yeah.
what that was.
Mashed potatoes.
So this is the Florida podcast now. We all are missing our two front teeth except for Wyatt.
No, dude, if my choice, full head of hair.
So we all missing teeth.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Sheesh.
All right. Rob, you got some news?
Yeah, I got some stuff here. It's pretty interesting. So, So this week is going to be the Kill Team pre-order release, along with a whole bunch of standalone expansion sets for a lot of the stuff we've been waiting on for a while, like Mandrakes and the Night Lords kit, which is cool. And then they're re-releasing some stuff like Scouts had already come out, but we're getting them again. GW seems to have messed up and didn't tell retailers that the cards would be available to them until like 18 hours before orders were due. So there might be some confusion there if you wanted the data cards for Kill Team. You may or may not be able to get them depending and such. But here's where it gets a little weird. So initial reports are that Games Workshop is treating this release like they treated Skaven Tide, which is got a lot of retailers really worried. And they've been saying stuff like, they've been calling it all. They'd be like, they didn't send out the stupid emails ahead of time, like, hey, you should order 100 of these starters or anything like that. But they intentionally left it off the form they have to fill out and submit because they have to discuss it with their rep. So all these reps have to call all the stores to get their Kill Team starter set box numbers on whatever their assigned day is, starting I think today actually, and then that gives them the chance to, try to upsell them, etc. And initial conversations with stores have gone something like, hey, our dad out here says you should order 100 of these. Kill Team is going to be the big 40K release of the winter. And people are like, wait, what? Like, that's the big thing, is people are like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, we're supposed to be getting Blood Angels. Like, what else? Like, nobody really knows what that means. So it's a little concerning to game store owners, because they want to sell shit. There also seems to be a little bit more of an emphasis on reorders and stock checks and things because, as one might assume, perhaps stores aren't ordering as much right now because it is the slower time of year. People are getting back to school and such and reforming their hobby habits for the winter months, the cooler months rather. So there's a lot of uncertainty out there right now, which is really weird. But just the fact that they're like, yeah, you need to order 100 of these Kill Team boxes, like, I don't know what to make of that, but I feel like it's starting to smell like Skaven Tide release all over again, which is kind of a little concerning. Skaven Tide was selling at Nova for like 140 a box, and that was 265 price tag, so it was almost cost. So that's a problem. That's a problem for GW. And if stores are actually not ordering as much, that could also be a problem for Games Workshop, because usually in September they announce, hey, we made too much money, we're going to give it back to our employees as bonuses and our stockholders as dividends. Everybody's happy, yay. And then the machine keeps on turning. So then we keep on getting dope minis. But hopefully that keeps happening, because this is a little weird right now. It's a little unpredictability, volatility, so to speak. But if you've been waiting on the Nemesis Claw or the Mandrake kit standalone, now is the time, because they were going for a lot on eBay. Also going for a lot on eBay is those Chaos Lords from the Battle Force. Those are going for stupid money. But I'm sure they will be out at some point. Who knows when, though? That's kind of how the market works, unfortunately. Something else to think about too is that, and there's some hobby stuff I wanted to talk to y'all about, get y'all's opinion on at the end of the segment. GW basically has a three-year release cycle, and we've talked about this. Like, this year was the big, Age of Sigmar edition reboot. Next year, in 2025, if you trace back to 2022, they're putting out Horus Heresy again, and they're probably going to put out some hobby stuff, most likely more paints, because every 3 years, they put out some sort of new paint something. In 2022, it was some new washes or reformulated washes, some more contrast paint. In 2019, it was contrast. They made stores buy all these big ridiculous racks and everything, and hey, you got to spend $5 grand on this rack. Okay. So there was that. I guess the initial rumors are some sort of pro paint line that might be dropper bottles or dropper bottle based finally. And no word if that's all their paints are gonna switch to dropper bottles or
Who's
just
this?
these.
GW? I
Huh? Yeah, supposedly.
feel like they kind of missed the boat.
So that was kind of what I wanted to get y'all's opinion on, because to me at least, and maybe this can dovetail a little bit into the Kickstarters finishing up tomorrow. The P3 Paint Kickstarter finishes up tomorrow, which you can get in the classic flip tops or the dropper bottle tops. Like, I feel like, and we've talked about this before, is there room for a new paint line even out there, especially
Yeah.
one that, okay. But if you're a store, and this is the thing, I think hobbyists, we want to know that the paint we bought today, we can still buy 3 months from now or 3 years from now to paint our minis, right?
Yep.
So
I
as
mean, like line stability is important. I mean, like if you're a hobo that has to have the same exact blue from this one company from 20 years ago, like that's a separate issue. But I can definitely empathize with people that are like, I painted this army, I wrote down my recipe, like that's how I remember how to do it. So
right.
everything is, people crack out on that for a reason, right?
Hmm.
So if P3 is coming out with a paint thing, then there should probably be some ass behind it to make sure that that paint line is going to be on shelves 2 to 5 years from now, right? Otherwise, it's just a like Kickstarter cash grab and probably not that tight.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of people have said something similar. There's no current, announcement that it's going into solicitation or distribution for game stores. I mean, the Tooth and Coats paint line you can get through Asmodee here in the States for game stores, but I feel like you always start at the top with Games Workshop, right? Because if you're already selling GW, they basically, kind of pigeonhole you into, hey, you got to carry some of these paints at least a little bit. And then, actually having that large rack, that $5,000, or actually it's more than that now, fully stocked, depending on your market, will turn and you will make, as a game store, you will sell paint and it's turns the fastest. So that's always a good thing. But then what else do you stock? And we've discussed this in the past. I feel like Vallejo is kind of a no-go at this point because it's terribly hard to get in distribution here in the States.
Yeah,
It's
their shelf life is dog shit, which is the reason I quit using it years ago. Um, I mean, like to your more like so this and to your other point, I mean, like I think there's always room for more paint lines, dude.
oh, just in
Right?
general.
Yeah, I mean, like that's like say what you will about capitalism. It's not what I'm talking about, but like the whole thing though is right is like everybody has the ability to put their product on the market, and the whole thing is like the best product or the most desirable product will win out. So like I think they're like if you want to make a paint line, do it, man. But like your product has to speak for itself. So if you put it out and it's not tight compared to your industry competitors, then it's not going to do well. And like the company will fold, right? So I mean, if P3 wants to bring their paints back and they want to be on the shelf, like cool, do it. But if they're not balling out of control, then you're competing with some pretty big giants of industry with Games Workshop and Army Painter and AK
Hmm.
and Monument Hobbies and all these others. And it's like your stuff has to be dope, right? And to the point of what are you going to have there, right? Or like people saying that, they're maxed out on shelf space for paints. It's like basic example, right? Paints or the hobby store that I go to, they've got the big GW rack because they kind of have
Hmm.
to. They've got a bunch of AK stuff, and they have a paint that like I can't even remember the name of it because it's one of those like no name ultra cheapy paints that I've only ever seen people who are like, I paint like a couple of D&D miniatures for my group every now and again, kind of things, right? Um, like what is that company? Yeah, I just can't remember it, right? But like I've literally never seen somebody buy that stuff. So if I'm the business owner and I have, let's say, 4 paint brands on shelf, it's an easy choice. I look at the last year of business on paint
Mhm.
sales and be like, which one of these paints is not selling? This one, get that shit out of there, put the new one in,
Yep.
and then see how that does. Because like if you take the one that nobody buys out and you put something new and shiny on the shelf, then you're probably going to initially sell a lot of it because people are like, ooh, new thing. I want to try this out. And then if it's dope, they'll keep coming back.
Fair. I feel like it's a smart move on their part, but there's a Kickstarter in it, right?
It is a Kickstarter, yeah.
Yeah, so Kickstarter is literally no risk. It's a pre-sale with no risk. Especially it's because most Kickstarters, they're like, we need the money, then we make the stuff, then we mail you the stuff. Not we already made it, now give us the money. So it's riskless. And they're able to take a pretty notable paint company that has like a lot of street cred, which is, you know, the P3 formula has a lot of like mystique and OG street cred. So you, if I became the CEO of that company or bought it up, I'd be like, yo, kickstart this shit. Make me like $500,000 real quick, you assholes. Like, I don't care about this paint. Like, but it, you know, but it does have marketing and street cred, and it probably doesn't need to exist. But you know, there's a lot of people out there who remember the glory days of that being one of the most prestigious paint formulas, who
Mhm.
will buy it
Yeah.
just to support it. Like, and
Yeah,
so
they had some type paints, right? Like
Yeah.
Necrotite
Yeah.
green. How many times have we heard that from you?
Iosa
Like,
green,
oh, yeah.
Necrotite green, fucking goddamn it. You know what I mean? That their blues, Privateer Press blues, were on fucking another level, dude. Like it
and
was.
see, like that again goes to my point. I think there's room for everybody's paint line, right? Because even if they're not like the most balling out of control for every single paint in their line, I think there's room on every hobbyist desk for like that one tight color or those two, three, four, five dope paints.
They
from a
were
line.
also like the OGs at coming up with like specialty boxes of paints,
Mhm.
right? Kind of
Paint
like
sets.
what Monument does now. You know,
Yep.
Signature Series. Like P3 kind of invented that. Like they were
Mhm.
like, we're coming out with this new squad of dudes, and look at this new. Remember Gravedigger denim? That shit blew. When I used Gravedigger denim and sickly whatever, I can't remember the colors. I painted some Space Wolves with that shit. That's my most requested shit on fucking Patreon.
Hmm.
Like for you know, like, so their colors slap, dude. Like they always had great paint. It was above the cut. It was good quantity for the value. Um, it's not groundbreaking in 2024, but
No.
it just makes goddamn business sense. Like I would 100% do a Kickstarter right now, and Kickstarters don't have to make it to shelves. They just have to make money.
Right.
Like
But I think
Done.
I think they do, you know, intend to maybe go into stores. I'm not sure what the ultimate plan is for Steamforge games in that, but so let me give you a follow-up question here. Would you consider P3 okay, so would you consider the P3 Paint Kickstarter a failure or a success, which is weird that you're even saying that I'm even saying this because it's currently at like $880,000. I
I'd
think
say
600
That's their goal.
I'd say anything over $250,000 is success for a dead paint
Would you-
line.
Would you consider it a success if it did not generate as much revenue as the Two Thin Coats paint line?
Yeah, because you can't compete with Duncan. Duncan is a
Yeah.
box office smash. He doesn't make sense. Like
You wouldn't.
He doesn't make sense.
You wouldn't compete in that way, regardless of who it was. Like, if your goal is to put out a paint line and you need X amount of money to do that, and you exceed
Mhm.
that goal, then it's a success.
no, you can't. No one person or even business is bigger than Duncan. Like Duncan's a fucking outlier. So no. But you know, like Duncan could have made P3 paints to make more money if he just said if he never made Two Thin Coats and he was like, "Hey, you guys
Mhm.
want me to be your spokesperson?" They would have done it. It doesn't matter because Two Thin Coats is not that tight. Like it's just all right paint. Doesn't matter. Duncan could have literally said, "These are fucking cafeteria sporks and fucking plastic wrap napkins that are my new secret painting tech for mixing paints," and he would have made $1 million. Like the guy's legendary.
It's
Fucking
true.
royalty.
So what do you think of the rumors of, so we know according to GW's 3-year product cycle that is infallible, trace it back to 2014. And in a lot of these instances, you can trace it back at least to 2 or 3 iterations currently. What do you think of the rumors of Games Workshop going to a dropper bottle format for a
Is it a
pro
rumor?
paint
Is it a
line?
rumor? Are we speaking to? Do we think the credibility of this rumor?
Well, I mean, they are going to come out with a hobby product next summer, 100% guaranteed happening. Like according to their 3-year sales cycle that we can trace back to 2016. Like that's a fact. Like what will it be though? And
Okay, so
that
is
is
the
that
question
is the
is
rumor.
so the question is not is it real? The question is will it be tight, and what are our opinions on it?
Right. And let me preface that. Let me preface this. It's probably happening because I have talked to high-level folks at different manufacturers out there. I'm like, what do you think about this? And they're like, oh yeah, we've been tracking that for a while. That's happening. And I'm like,
Chat's already got some hot opinions. Like GW will find a way to charge us more for it with less pain in the pot.
Oh
oof.
yeah.
Which
I was literally gonna say that. I was like, they're probably gonna make like smaller bottles with the dropper bottles thing, but charge the exact same amount as their pots.
yeah, Chat's
Oh
already on to them.
gosh.
Chat's already on. I mean, and a lot of this has to do with weight, shipping, etc. They want the bottles to weigh the same. So if they add a mechanical element to the bottle that increases its weight by X, they will remove X from what's in the bottle. Period. No end of discussion. No fucking exception. Simultaneously, um, GW paints, since we're talking about paints, are not bad. Like they're actually good. It's just that they are vast. They're so overpriced that it makes them bad. Like that's what makes them bad. And the fact that their system is based on a very rigid, like base layer, highlight layer mechanic, that your paints have different consistencies across their prescribed usage. Which once you elevate to a certain level of like painting mindset, that's a bad thing, right? So even though the overall quality of the paint is solid, the overall pigments are super solid, I rate them actually high. Their value though is just not there, and there's tons of paint companies now that do have the value and the quality. So if they put a dropper bottle on it and we get the same quantity for the same price, that's reasonable. Okay, fine. But if they go down by 1 iota of product in the bottle, it is a goddamn classic GW nonsense money grab, dude.
I think
And
I think people
and
will be on
too little, too late. You know what I'm saying? We've been asking for this
Right.
for how many years? Since the first day you started painting, Wyatt?
Yeah, like over 20 years.
I think well, people are always, nobody's ever going to be happy and people are always going to want more when it comes to the hobby in general. But I I tend to agree with you there. So I think that they'll have to emulate probably pretty too closely either Monuments Paint or Army Painter Fanatic, because you know how they both have the dropper bottles. They both put the mixing balls in there. They both have higher quality paint because GW's paint is purposely not as good as those two products, as Fanatic and Pro Acrylic. They use higher end shit where GW doesn't, and that's proven. We just know that. Like we've seen the science behind it. So they're gonna have to so closely emulate these particular brands out there that I'm almost wondering when you see it. I mean, obviously they're gonna have their colors, like, hey, here's Mephiston red or whatever. So, oh, now I can get it like super dope Mephiston red, right? Um, that's gonna be interesting, but I think people are kind of onto the value proposition, and it would behoove them to do it correctly, like you said, because people are already, onto them as far as like, oh, you're gonna give us less and charge us more. Cool.
People are on to everything now. Like everyone knows. You go to the grocery store, you buy a box of macaroni and cheese. It costs a nickel more and has a nickel less in it, right? Like, period. We're on to it. We
Mhm.
know how this works. And GW's been doing that for a long time as well. So, like, there's not a good time to do that. Like, everyone's going to notice.
Yeah, and I think just the fact, just to kind of dovetail it back to what I was talking about the Kill Team release, and the fact that they seem to kind of be browbeating stores to get reorders and to get stock checks, and really emphasizing the things that were a lot easier to get earlier in the year from stores. And now this whole Kill Team thing, where they didn't put out the email ahead of time saying, hey, you need to order 100 of these because they burned so many stores on Skaventide already, but they are still trying to sell that many Kill Team boxes. And maybe it's due to the success. Maybe we're to blame. Maybe it's due to the success of the Leviathan box, which was severely allocated to stores that wanted 50 of them. They didn't have 50 to give some, a lot of stores. So, stores had to kind of walk and get their 8. But maybe it's our fault because we created this demand a year ago, and now they've ramped up production for these 2 key items, and the demand just isn't there. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think we're just in a weird spot again when
It's
it
an
comes
easy
to
it's an
the
easy
hobby.
way to take a thing you already make and then market as a new thing, which always means someone will buy it. So, just like you said, the old Gale Force 9 model from back in the day.
God, oh man, he was so onto it. He knew before we all
Like,
knew.
you do the same thing every 6 months in a different color. That was his whole business strategy.
Yeah, he literally told me that.
Yeah, fuck it. I'm like, damn
I mean,
genius. Goddamn
and we still
genius.
all bought it
We bought the shit out of it.
because it was useful. It had value.
Bruh.
Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, um,
We're all secretly hoarders. It doesn't matter.
there's just 2 dragons inside of us. If P3 paints your thing, and you want it in the flip top or the dropper bottle, there's 1 day left on that Kickstarter, so make sure to check that out and get in while you can on the ground floor of the new, so to speak. 29 new colors plus your choice of tops is pretty dope. And last but not least, pretty good deal out there over on Humble Bundle. We put out an article on it, and you can see the links at the bottom of most of our articles on the site, next to the boner pill ads, per the usual. Humble Bundle has almost $300 in Space Marine books. How about that? For only $18 right now, and I think that's going for about another 2 weeks. It's almost like some big release came out for Space Marine, and they want to jump on that interest train right now.
Mm-hmm.
But who doesn't like, I mean, a lot of those books are actually pretty good. So, like, if you don't have them, it's a good bundle to get. I've read probably 3/4 of them. All solid choices.
Nice.
So that's
What's the news?
that is the news. I'm sure I forgot something, but it doesn't matter because you won't know.
That's facts. Let's take a quick commercial break. Let's talk about our sponsors, and then let's come back and talk about Space Marine 2 and Amazon. And we're back. We had a interesting discussion in the after hours segment.
You were telling us all the shit Henry Cavill did. I couldn't believe it.
Well, the way I phrased it was I read an article. Well, I read the title of an article. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I watched 4 seconds of a 1 minute TikTok reel. And the gist of this is that Henry Cavill's backing out because Amazon wants to change stuff and he wants to preserve the lore. Which is a completely uncredited source of information.
I mean,
But-
it sounds legit to me.
But it leads us to topics that we've been discussing on this podcast for some time about the legitimacy of, I think we had it back in the day like a bet, like over under, that this shit's actually back when it was Eisenhorn and Netflix pre-COVID. Like we were like
Mhm.
we were like never gonna happen, right? Like we keep saying this just ain't gonna happen. And what's interesting is that we now have the Space Marine 2 development, as Rob mentioned previous, which is a box office smash. Beyond
And the first show for Amazon.
Hmm?
Well, episode.
It's
of
the-
different show, but
it's
whatever.
the literal most successful fucking space, like, 40K thing ever. Like, it's so crazy. Now, what are you talking about, Rob? The first.
Oh, so it will be part of that other series. There will be a Space Marine 2 or Space Marine based on the video game animated show or animated episode on Amazon in December already. So it's technically the first 40K animation on for Amazon. So I'm sure they'll be looking at that to see how well that
Something
does
we
too.
talked about way back in the day, right before a Christmas break, when I was
Mhm.
still in California, was that the likelihood of an actual live action 40K Space Marine show actually making the cut is very low. And early
Yes.
on, this was on the IMDb Pro credits, was it was an animated series. The thing Henry Cavill was spearheading was animated. That was what was in the actual IMDb. He was voice crediting. And then since then, he has made a million promises that it's going to be live action, and that has changed. And so I think everyone's got Henry Cavill in their Instagram feeds on this podcast, and if not in the listener base, we all know he's a grill daddy now. We know he doesn't play 40K, hasn't played 10th edition 40K. He hasn't had an opportunity to play yet. But, you know, Wyatt, you haven't played Space Marine 2. Talk about like how that game makes you feel as a fan and what you expect Amazon to do.
I mean, the game is phenomenal, right? Like I don't think there's any other word to describe it, right? Because I mean, like we talked about, this game is blowing up in more spaces than just 40K fans, right? Like we talked about all the people whose main hobby is like video gaming, right? And so typically every time a big title or like a triple A title or even like a double A title comes out, like that makes the rounds. Um, people generate content and they word of mouth spreads and people jump onto it. And so like the same thing is happening with Space Marine 2, and it's blowing up in a really phenomenal way, really becoming viral and spreading into people's feeds and their spheres of influence that Warhammer was not present for before this. And then on top of that, it's just a really well made game. It had a
Mm.
pretty smooth launch. I mean, like there's a couple of things that needed fixing, but they're so minor that like it was very polished. And the developers, like, they understood the assignment, man. Like, even if these people may not be diehard fans of Warhammer, like they poured their heart and soul into creating this and fulfilling the task given them, and like they fucking get it, dude. Um, and so like when it comes to what could happen with Amazon, uh, to be fair, like I'm not really worried that Amazon is going to do anything negatively to a 40K project, because um, everything that they do has to go through so many layers of contrivance when it comes to like,
You can try.
we want to do this, can we get approval for this, right? Like this is something that we would like to do, is like, that kind of is that okay, right? So it's like you have the creative team, you have the studio, and you have GW, and like all of them have to agree or agree to a fair compromise on a billion different aspects of this project to bring forth a fully realized TV miniseries, right? Let's just call it like a TV miniseries, because probably what it'll be, like 6 episodes in the first season, something like that, right? If it's going to be live action at all, or if this even happens. Because one of the things that we talked about in a previous podcast was Amazon had like a certain amount of time to reach that level of agreement with Games Workshop, or the project would not move forward, right? So they've been in very, very long pre-production on this stuff, right? So uh for people listening, like they're trying to get to a point where they can actually start production. So they haven't been working on this all this time. Like they haven't rolled cameras. Like there haven't been sets, there haven't been props. Like there's probably not even a script totally nailed down, right? Casting has not happened. They're trying to reach agreements about the vision of the project and like what it's going to be and the story they're going to tell, that kind of thing. And then if they can agree on that before this cutoff timetable, then they can move into, all right, let's nail down a script, let's nail down casting, let's figure out logistics, let's get effects and like probably another year to 2 years after that point before cameras even roll, right? That's where we are right now. And I'm not particularly worried about that sort of stuff when it comes to Amazon, because like Amazon makes great shows, even if some of them you may not like, or some of them have been critically panned, or whatever it
Mhm.
might be. They've made a lot of bangers. Like they're in the movie and show making business now, and they have been rolling in the dough ever since they started, right? So everybody likes to point to Rings of Power, like, oh, Rings of Power is dog shit. It's like they blow all their dog whistles, DEI this, and like, oh, blah 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 blah. And it's like it's all a bunch of hot air that doesn't really mean anything. Um, so if you don't like Rings of Power, cool, whatever. I don't care. But if you look at other shows, they've been knocking it out of the park, right? And it's very clear that like Amazon, the movie making corporation, is not really going to take something like 40K and ruin it, because obviously it's a very, very lucrative IP they're trying to get their hands on, right? Because they're not going to do something like this just to make a subpar product. And they've proven to us that if they want to make adult level grimdark 40K and be true to what 40K is, like we can just look at the boys. They've had what, like how many seasons at this point? 6, 7, however many it's been, and they can show it. They can do everything that 40K is all about. They can show everything that 40K is and make that, and it'll be fine. It's just the thing is they have to agree with Games Workshop on everything.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's where we're at. Now, if it's even true that Henry Cavill is backing out because of creative differences, which I don't
that's
necessarily believe.
speculation.
Like, yeah, it's very, very speculative. It's a rumor. Like, I mean, in this day and age, like with the way that misinformation is spread and people latch on to memes as being real info, like I don't even know that blurb is something that even took place, right? It could be like a generated meme that people are latching onto out of wanting to meme on hating Games Workshop for some reason.
No, see, I mean, you make some good points. Now, it is true that in today's environment, this is like a Mike Haspel like subject, right? Like he's been disappointed by almost all content that has been generated in the last 10 years. And he used the word content. He's like, if content. And what I've learned from my time in like Los Angeles is that there's a point to every story, right? And that the writer, the director that brings his vision, the writer brought a point. So we do happen to see a lot of stories that the point of them is topical and contemporary to this moment in time, right? Which is why you see a lot of stuff that is ultra inclusive, that is diverse, and brings up other, plot lines that might not seem, obvious to the plot of what you're watching, right? So that I think that is specifically what irritates people and drives them down the path of like, everything's got an agenda, blah blah blah. The agenda is the point of it. That's what the point is. The point is, why did someone sit down and write this? That writer had a point. He was trying to make a point, and he's hiding that point inside of a story, right? Now, some people do it poorly, some people don't. But the comparison I was trying to draw between like Space Marine 2, the video game, is that I've never seen something so well executed, because it had a diverse cast, straight up, right? It kept a very simple story, 100% about what Astartes life is, like especially Ultramarine life, like right, straight up, brother. I've never heard somebody say brother so many times since fucking watching Macho Man and Hulk Hogan and cut a promo. You know what I mean? Perfect. Duty and honor. Let's go.
Yeah.
Gun porn, like bolter porn, like you said. So there might be a slight disconnect between the way the point of the story is for whoever the person in charge of that negotiation is at Amazon and GW. But we actually, which is entirely possible. I'm not trying to take that away from anybody. Like, there are absolutely agendas. I'm saying that's a fact. Like, I've lived with writers.
Everybody's got agendas,
Like
bro.
that, like writers write
Yeah,
for a
and, like,
purpose. But
You know, there's
histo-
themes in the stories that you want to get out there.
yeah, but I also know, yeah, and so that's why I like Space Marine. Like, I would want a show to be like Space Marine 2. Like, I don't need anything in there except Bolterborn. But that might not make any money because that has a very specific target audience, right? And that's not how you make money. But I have just as much evidence, if not more, from my time in Los Angeles that points to and my connections and my contacts and everything. I know people to the difficulty of being a creative partner with Games Workshop as the holder of the license.
Mhm.
I have more personal evidence and anecdotes and NDA stuff that points to any issues are probably coming from Games Workshop, not Amazon. But all that to say, we're putting a lot of faith in Henry Cavill, okay, as our Robin Hood character, right? He's stealing from the rich, giving to the poor, right? The man walked away from Witcher because they were fucking Witcher him. He left fucking his role as Superman. Like, I mean, he will fucking walk away if you're not respecting the source material. The motherfucker's a goddamn fanboy saint, and I respect him for that. But from a studio standpoint, that guy is literally kryptonite, pun intended, right? Like, that guy costs motherfuckers money.
Yeah.
He can't get anything done, guys. He's not a lord and savior of fucking production. He's not he's not funding anything.
Yeah, like part of doing that job as an actor,
Yeah.
right, is that, like, you sign contracts, right? It's like contract negotiation is a huge part of that industry, right? It's been in every form of Hollywood media that we've ever consumed as audiences, right? It's a big fucking deal. And part of that contract says that, like, you're going to do X when asked and on time and with the full effort, and we're going to pay you X for doing that. Now, if you sign up to be on a show like The Witcher and creative control is not in your contract, your job is to do what you're fucking supposed to, right?
It's to hit your mark, say your
not
lines.
to piss and moan about, like, the direction the story's going or any of that type of stuff. Now, in lots of productions, yes, the actors do have a certain amount of creative input and sometimes creative control. Like, people direct and act in things all the time, right? But we'll probably never know this because all that stuff is going to be held secret. It's probably a pretty good bet that Henry Cavill didn't have a ton of creative control over, like, the script or direction or production or whatever it might be, right? Now, they might have been like, hey, do you want to, input on how Geralt's costume is, or, like, what his sword looks like, or how he fights, or, how he delivers a line, or maybe the wording on that doesn't work entirely the way that, feels right to you. Let's riff on that, stuff like that. But if he's going to leave a production and break contract, that's like a big fucking no-no, right? That's also just like, it's not what you're supposed to do, right? Like, if you're going to do a job, you need to do the job. And if you sign the contract to play this role or whatever, you don't break that contract because it just ruins everything for everybody. And if he's doing that constantly, that means he's notoriously difficult to work with.
Yeah. So he's, like I said, he's a Robin Hood character for us, like 100%. Hey, because we've said on this podcast many times, like we hate it when people don't respect the source material. If you're gonna go jack an IP and not come up with a new idea, then respect the goddamn source material. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole reason you're jacking the IP. You don't need to reinvent the IP. Like, you didn't come up with an idea to begin with. You know what I mean? You just need to take your $1 billion studio and execute the fucking project so it looks like you spent $1 billion on it. That's it. That's the whole job. And so Henry Cavill's probably not the guy to get it done. And we've said that since day one. I have literally no faith in any of this coming to fruition. Like, since the Eisenhower days to now. Like, not like,
I'm kind of in the same boat now. I mean, like, how much of that is to do with Amazon or to do with Henry or to do with Games Workshop, we'll probably never know. Now, if I'm making an
Mhm.
educated guess here, it probably has a lot more to do with Games Workshop than anything else, like by a wide margin, because Games Workshop is very, very protective of their IP, and they have, as part of whenever they do these projects, they have a lot of power written into the negotiations when it comes to certain things. I mean, like just this morning, there was something I was reading about devs of Space Marine 2 talking about certain things where they were like, there was stuff that we wanted to do that we thought would be really cool, and Games Workshop said no. And they didn't say no as like a bad thing. They were like, they thought it was really cool too. But they were like, that's not the vision of what we want to do with this game. Right. I think it was in relation to like Chaos Space Marine skins and different things of like visuals for multiplayer, stuff like that. They were like, that's not the goal of this project. And they were
Mm.
like, dope, dude, like fucking cool, but we're not doing that. Um, and so like if anything has to do with this show, and they're in these negotiations, and it's like they have to reach that point where they're not going to move forward. Like there is no bad actor that is going to step in while this show is mid-production and change everything and cost the company millions upon millions of dollars to suit their own agenda. Like that kind of stuff straight up just like doesn't happen, right?
Mhm.
Like Rings of Power is the way that it is because that's what everybody decided it was going to be well into like pre-production, right? Before anything else actually started getting
Yeah,
put on
they
film.
wrote a topical modern variant, right? Like that's so that it doesn't. None of this really is going to affect the IP. And something that like because Space Marine 2 shows you it can be done. Space Marine 2
Yep.
box office smash. It can be done, right? And Zenwu said something in chat. It's like I bet we get Cavill voiceover in that animation release in December. I bet you, dude, I'm 100% behind that. I bet you that is a fact. I would.
Well,
Be.
I think they already said that the voice is the voice actor from Vikings that is Titus's voice.
No, I bet we get a. I bet we get a fucking.
Like a character
First off,
essentially.
Oh, yeah,
Cavill
I got
said
you.
in
Yeah.
previous interviews, "Who would you play?" He said a Primarch. He straight
Yeah,
up.
maybe that's where we see Gilliman.
That
right?
straight up
Mm.
said that shit.
Because like
He's
in
like
Space Marine
yeah.
2, we get Titus back, we get some new characters, we get Marnie's Calgar.
Calgar, like yeah, Daddy
Right?
Calgar shows up.
And so they're like, they mentioned Gilliman, right? Without giving away spoilers, they're like,
They mention
like,
him, yeah.
this is the orders he's given. This is the plan we're going with. And they're like, well, we need to tell him about this shit. And they're like, that's not for you to decide, dude, but you can talk to Calgar. So, and I mean, like we've seen in
Hmm.
promotional material for this edition of 40K, like Gilliman is basically the Imperium's War Master. Like he's at the head of all military shit, right? Like the big cinematic we had for Leviathan. Like you can see him on the battle barge, at the tactical table, making the calls, right? So he's the big boss. And so I would not be surprised in the least. In fact, I would be crazy super duper hype if he is in that episode and he's voiced by Henry Cavill. That would be fucking dope.
Mm-hmm. I expect that. Christmas miracle. And I've always
cool.
thought it was moving toward that. Like, just give us some fucking Christmas specials of fucking Ultramarines slapping dicks off of fucking heretics. Let's go.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like as far as like a show would go, a Space Marine centric show is just probably never going to happen.
Derek Quinn
Right.
says he's in charge of the Council of Terra. That's some nerd shit. That's good. Fucking goddamn Ultramarines. I mean, it's an exciting set of rumors floating around the internet. It's
Yeah.
it's topical. It's something that's super important to the fan base, especially after.
I mean, like tempering your expectations is a great point to make about all of this.
Mhm.
Because I mean, like, we say this, we might come off sounding like negative Nancy's, but we're just speaking from our like industry education and experience with this thing that is the Games Workshop sphere or whatever you want to call it for so many years. And like I like more than anybody, I want a 40K live action television series and I want it to be successful, right? I think it, and if it happens, I think it will be. And I'm just saying, and Kenny is just saying, like, we don't think it's going to happen because of a million different things, right? Have to line up for that to work out. but tempering expectations is really important. You know, like understanding how this stuff works is really important, so you don't like latch on to baseless rumors and different things like that. And then I think it's fair to say that a lot of people that are fans of 40K kind of latch onto the way that the lore was when they got into the game, like their golden years of getting into the game, right? Even though the lore has never been sacred to anything, right? Like some stuff has stayed the same for many years, but going all the way back to the early 90s, 40K has changed a million times since then up until now. And it's constantly evolving and changing, right? That's what Games Workshop decided to do. So there's some tenets of the lore that are like immutable, right? Like the Emperor is on the Golden Throne, there's the Imperium, there's Chaos, there's Tau, there's Necrons, etc. Right? But a lot of stuff has changed and it'll probably keep changing over time. And so like just because it's not the way that you remember 40K being in 2002 doesn't mean that they are disrespecting the source material, right? So let's say a show does come out and they're like, something is different than what you're used to in the lore. That doesn't mean that they're disrespecting the lore or that it's bad or that they're like putting some sort of agenda in there. It just means that like that's the agreement they had with Games Workshop.
What?
Yeah, but you don't
Hmm.
go around like angrily spouting at other people who are like, yeah, like in our heads, Abaddon makes space whiskey and looks into his orb, and you know, because it's funny. But if somebody disagrees with us, we don't call them a fucking tourist and they're not a true fan of 40K. Like that's insane behavior, right? If
Oh yeah,
people
the
do
whole
that, like
tourist comment.
they're
Oh,
insane people, right? Like saying that it's like impossible for custodies to be ladies. It's like, bro, like you don't even have like a college education in science, like and it's made up space wizard fiction. It literally doesn't matter. But that's what they're saying the world is, and they're the lore masters. They're the creators of all of this stuff. So if they say that there are lady custodies, then there are,
I'll repeat.
and that's just one change in a billion changes.
I'll repeat my point because I muted myself by accident. What I was saying to the chat
right.
was that when the Horus Heresy came out, I didn't like it. Like the novels, I read like the first three. I didn't like it because it competed with my headcanon, and I just stopped consuming the content. That's it. I was just like, eh. So that's an alternative. If you don't like anything, if something bothers you, just don't consume the content.
Yeah, and that's where my joke for Abaddon making space whiskey staring into his orb
That's
came
our
from.
that's basically canon.
I mean, that is in a 40K book. So I mean, like,
It's basically real. It's a Talon
it's
of
just one
Horus.
thing. That's kind of like my main point is I think that a lot of people who are fans of 40K are either ignorant of or willfully ignorant of the fact that like canon in terms of 40K and like the games workshop form of canon is not ironclad. It is subject to change. It has changed a million times. That is like an immutable fact. You can't argue that otherwise because we have the receipts. You can look at the lore books, you can look at the novels, you can look at the codices going all the way back, all these editions to the 90s when we were all kids. Like it has changed a million times, and it's going to continue to evolve and change over time to keep the world fresh and have new ideas and be entertaining to us. And you can't just be like, let's say hypothetically, if the show comes out and they have something that is not accurate to your headcanon of the lore or like the way the lore was in 2010, 2007, whenever, like they're not disrespecting the lore, right? Because like everything that you would be seeing was agreed upon by Games Workshop.
There is and always has been ladies custodies.
Yep.
My name is Retcon. It's like one of my favorite Rick and Morty moments.
That's the fifth chaos guide. It's retcon.
It's retcon. He's like Brett Con. He's like Brett Con. Really? People's name is Brett, and people have the last name Con. Why don't you just make it that? My name is and always has been Brett Con. Like,
Got him.
oh, the made up shit got changed again.
Oh no.
I don't care about any of that shit.
I'm gonna start throwing poo at the wall.
I just watch it. And I'm like, is it tight or not? Dog, I've been watching Marvel movies since day one, dude. Like, fuck it. None of them are accurate. Like,
Oh,
yeah, they're all a little different. I mean, look at the Infinity Saga.
as
But
long
it's
as
the same thing. That's why you
Yes.
have the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have I mean, like the comics are
The secret time.
fucking insane, dude. Like they've been
Mhm.
changed and reworked and remixed
every
so many
time
times.
you get a new writer, a new drawer working together, they just try to up the ante of the last guy.
Yeah, they just want
Yeah.
to tell cool stories.
They want to,
And
but more baller than the last guys. That's their
yeah,
motivation.
yeah.
That's their
right.
actual motivation. It's like, so it's not even, can't trust this shit. If it's tight, it's tight. And you'll know it when you see it. You'll know it when you see it.
True.
All right. Oh, Renegade said apparently Amazon didn't like the religious tones of the Sisters of Battle, so they wanted female custodians bossing everyone around. I mean,
That sounds preposterous. I don't think that's true.
I don't know where that came from. Probably some reel on something.
I can kind of see why a lot of it is a touchy IP. Like, truthfully,
Yeah.
like, we've
It's littered with landmines.
that's literal limits. Because you're not wrong. Like the
Yep.
Sisters of Battle are religious nutbags. Like,
Yeah,
there's-
there's a ton of stuff
like-
in modern 40K that is extremely problematic
Mhm.
without context.
Mhm.
And we as fans and consumers of the 40K media and everything, we have all that context. But it's like, there's some stuff where if they just pushed a show out and they were like, this is Warhammer stuff, and you have Joe Schmo, never heard of Warhammer, has zero reference for stuff, especially lots of like family people that watch Amazon, right? Like your 18 to 35 demo, regardless of gender or location. There's some stuff that is pretty upsetting without context, and those people will not have that context, and they're just like, "Yo, what the fuck is this?"
Big Uncle says superhero movies are just advertising to sell kids toys, and a 40K movie is just advertising to sell grown men
Bell
toys.
models. Yeah, dude.
Like, bro, it's all just advertising, man. Like, spoiler alert: everything anyone does is for money. All art, especially all art, is made to
They get paid.
to get paid. No one just sat down and was like, "I'm gonna write this dope ass book," and no one's gonna read it except me because I love it. No, they're gonna be
I
like,
mean, I'm sure there's some people that have done that out there.
people who are afraid because the last time they let someone read their book, the person
It's all
criticized
fan
them,
fiction.
and it hurt their feelings, and so therefore they don't let people read it now. Like,
Don't have feelings.
art is about validation, and the highest form of validation is money. Like, so if something's making money, that's all. That's my definition of it's a successful art project. Like, get paid. Like, GW continues to fucking get paid. Fucking slap. All right.
Basically.
All right, this time,
This time?
let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Wyatt, you want to take us out of here?
Rob.
Hey, it's me. All right, so that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to head on over to thelongwar.net for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War.